Okay, we're gonna get started. Nicole, if you could help out and call the roll for us, all the important kickoff stuff.
Okay, Director Altman,
Here.
Director Short,
Here.
Director Roberts, Director Schlong,
Here.
Chairman Borges,
Here.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Nicole.
Pledge allegiance. The nice new flag. I like it. Okay, ready? Again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Move to approve.
Second.
First and second. Any public comment? Nick, you're the only public in the room.
No comments in the gallery.
They pull votes?
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Schlong,
Yes.
Director Short,
Yes.
Chairman Borges,
Yes. Moving on to number 4, approved resolution 2022-23-10, awarding agreement to Hanson Bridget LLP for RCTA legal counsel services.
Before we move forward, I was just gonna mention this, and I probably should have done it before the consent calendar, but our agenda for today is dated February, just for the record.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if that matters, but
Jeez, Joe.
Well, it's not good. It's not good transit management, that's for sure. Thank you for bringing it.
I'll bring that up.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I need a proofreader. You know, it often I've caught myself, well, we've all caught me. Usually on the agenda, there'll be one that says the wrong month, but the first agenda cover page, usually we get that right. I do apologize for that. But do note that it is Monday, March 27th that we're meeting today. So this item, item 4 is to approve a resolution awarding an agreement with Hanson Bridget LLC to be our RCTA's new general counsel attorney. I know we've got new folks on the board. So this started about a year ago. We lost the attorney that we'd had, who we had for many years when she was with Plack and Rice. Autumn Luna was our attorney, and she became really good at transit items, which was great. And then she moved over to the county attorney's office for a while. So we followed her and we entered into an agreement with the county so that we could keep using her services under a different, roof. And then she moved on from that about a year ago. So we've been without a general counsel since then, and we have to have one for certain documents, and it's just good practice to have one in general. So we released this RFP in January, and the proposals were received in early March. We had a selection committee made up of myself, the GM from Humboldt Transit, Mark Elias from formerly First Transit, now TransDev, our regional VP guy, and Tamara and from DNLTC. And the unanimous scoring was that Hanson Bridget was the top proposal, clearly, of the two we received. We received another responsive proposal from Day Wilson out of Humboldt, which was pretty good, but the selection committee was clear on the top ranked proposal.
I just reviewed it briefly. Is it an as needed contract?
Yes, yeah, it's an as needed contract, so we'll be billed as much as we use them. Yeah. So we can control the budget in that manner. The approach we wanted to take was do a governance audit, and probably the end of this fiscal year, this first couple of months would be a good time for that, because we got some legal budget that obviously we didn't use this year because we didn't have anybody. So we want to do a general audit, look at all of our policies and procedures, and then they can prioritize, and we can spread out the catch-up work over the next 3 years. Was the way I was hoping to approach it. It's a really unique model we have, and the attorney is an important position. Of course, they're always important, but especially in our model, because every few years when my team's contract comes up, the board needs to communicate with someone to help with that procurement, because I can't both run the procurement and propose on it at the same time. It's not very easy, not very good. So the attorney actually then takes the point and works with you guys closely during that process, which is every 3 to 5 years.
How
So
much budget do we have? Because their hourly rate is pretty high.
we've been budgeting like 5,000 a year, but we're gonna need to increase that. I mean, 5,000 a year was before. And it was enough then, but it's not gonna be enough with the new attorney. Unless we don't use them much, which is an option, but I think when we do well, you guys let me know what range you'd like to be in, but when we do the new budget, that'll be in there next month to take a look at for fiscal year 23-24.
Do you have a projection on what you're gonna need them for?
I'd like to do that governance audit and have them help us with I think the first year will be fairly busy because we're operating out of an old agreement template from the autumn days. There's a lot of things that probably need to be modernized and freshened up. I think the first year, maybe 15,000 or so, then less after that. I think we need to budget quite a bit for year one.
We had discussed that prior to having that.
It's a 4-year deal.
And had a second set of eyes on our forms and the contract and stuff, so.
Yeah.
Even though they're pretty expensive. They're aces in the game, so we thought it might be a good idea to let.
Right,
a
and
second set of eyes hit those items for us, so.
absolutely. And the board, it's kind of up to the board, but we hadn't planned on having them attend just to be there, just to be a smiling face on Zoom. If we don't have any items that we feel we need him or her for, we probably wouldn't invite them and have them spend an hour at their rates, we're just watching us talk. Right. But there'll be maybe the occasional meeting when there is something on there that we want them for, but I wasn't planning on using them for every board meeting. I don't think we need that. I don't think we need it.
All right, I move to approve resolution 22-2310, awarding the agreement to Hanson Bridget LLC for the legal counsel services.
I will second.
First and second, full votes.
Nicole?
I was trying to unmute. Director Short,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Schlong,
Yes.
Chairman Borges,
Yes. Okay, number 5. Review and accept the fiscal year 2021-22 RTPA financial audit from O'Connor CPA.
Move to accept.
Second.
There we go.
Any discussion?
And first and second, do I need to keep on public comment on these?
Recognizing that there's no public in the room.
Is there any on Zoom?
Oh, yeah.
We've got Michael from Hanson Bridget. Hi, Michael. Thanks for being here. Congratulations.
We're not paying you for today.
Direct Vice Chair Shalong said we're not paying you for.
I understand. Thank you very much. Appreciate your confidence in us. As I think Joe knows, we work for a variety of transit agencies, from very large ones to relatively small ones. I think we're going to be able to provide you with good, efficient service, because we do a lot of things, the same things for a lot of different clients, and we don't charge to recreate the wheel. If we have a document already, and we provide you with that. Change the names, of course, but make it useful. And our firms, through representing Golden Gate Bridge, has had a relationship with Del Norte County for a long time. And so I'm looking forward to helping you. My co-counsel will be Catherine Groves, who's currently on parental leave. She'll be back at the end of June to help out. And we also have Dana Louie, one of our young associates, will help. We try to push down the work to the younger attorneys who frankly know a lot of these federal procurement rules, maybe even better than I do. I'm kind of the wise guy with a lot of experience in bigger projects and solving problems should you need me. But I'll be, as the partner, I'll be supervising the client and making sure you get good service. And please feel free to call us. Although I guess you want to keep the call short. We really will try to work within your budget and you know, we've worked with Joe in the past when he was in Livermore. I do actually have a checklist of things that, you know, all public agencies need to have in place, so we can work with him on getting that done. I think that's sort of what your governance audit involves. So again, very glad to work with you. Look forward to meeting you. Maybe we'll get up there in person sometime. This thing 4 years ago, we couldn't have done this because people weren't used to using Zoom, but I think this is a great opportunity to be able to help you from afar, and maybe sometime we'll get up there to see you. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I appreciate how crisply you're moving your meeting along. I don't want to take up any more time.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Michael?
Nope.
All right, thanks for being here tonight, Michael.
All right, thanks
Uh,
all. I got another meeting to go to.
Yeah, we'll circle back with you maybe next week and figure
Okay.
out how to get started on that checklist audit and then keep busy until Catherine comes back.
Very good. All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you all. Take care.
So I think no public. We got Dan Heron, Nicole, and we had Michael and Mark Schaefer. Mark was here for item 3D, which was the official direction to move on with our project, which he's been doing. So that's good. Yep, so no public.
Okay, so we're okay. So item 5, we have a first and a second.
I didn't
No
realize.
public.
that.
So let's pull the vote.
This is on.
Director
item
Schlong,
Who was that, Nicole?
Director Schlong,
Yes.
Director Short,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Chairman Borges.
Yes. Okay. Moving right along. Number 6, review and approve fiscal year 2021-22 RCPA annual report.
All right, and I sent the annual report. I sent a second version out this morning that had some additional work we put into it over the weekend. Because the 4 local routes weren't itemized individually in the one that I sent out on Saturday morning. So we got that addressed in the latest version. Oh, we're moving along pretty fast, so I can stop, take a second. So the annual report, you know, looks at our system as a whole. Tries to kind of address our health and did we have a good year or not? This is for fiscal year 21-22, so ending in June 30th of last summer. And we didn't really have a very good year, but compared to the horrific year we had the year before, it was a little better. I mean, that's about all you can say about it. It was bad, but it wasn't as bad as fiscal year 2021, which was, you know, really marred by the pandemic. Our costs are up, you know, because we addressed a lot of our labor cost issues during the pandemic, but the ridership hasn't come back, so that makes the stats look especially bad. Yeah, I know. So if anyone has any particular questions about any particular route, the routes that are doing the best and recovering the most robustly, oh, Route 199, but you got to remember the numbers were so small. It's easy to have a big percentile improvement when you're totally bad to start, you know, to be honest. So the number 199's improved a lot, which is good. And it had certainly had room for that. The Route 20, which is, you know, very resource intensive. That's our route between, you know, Smith River and Arcata. Didn't do well last year, lost another % compared to even the year before. So it was like the only one that did worse than 2021, unfortunately. We do have some things in the hopper related to Mr. Schaefer's project that we're working on, the medical shuttle. We're looking at modifications we can make to the 20 down in Eureka that'll probably help everyone that uses it. Because right now we stop short. We'd go to the Arcata Transit Center. We don't even actually stop at Cal Poly right now. I'm working on that also. But there's some of the new changes is we'll extend into Eureka itself to get to their transit center, which has more buses come together. So there's better connectivity, as well as maybe do a little loop so we can directly serve the medical facilities. And that came up in the medical shuttle discussion, you guys might recall. So we're still working on that, but I was down there doing some timings this morning and it looks very feasible. I'm kind of excited. Hopefully that'll give the shot in the arm that the Route 20 needs. Our school tripper, Route 300, came back a little this year. It was completely suspended. We didn't run it in 2021. This last year, it came back a little, not nearly as strong as it did before the COVID hit. If we had a snapshot of this fiscal year we're in now, though, it's actually bounced back. It may even beat the 1920 as our best year on the tripper yet. So we'll see. I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched there, but it is improving. So that route's on a positive trend as well. Of our local routes, the Route 2 is still the rock star. It has the best productivity of the 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the lowest is Route 3. In general, our fare box recovery is not good. It's down to like 5% because the cost went up, ridership went down. So we need to get that up, and we may want to talk about a fare increase at some point soon. But anyway, that's not on the docket for today. Any questions about the annual report or any of the stats or any of the things in there?
The ridership thing stay down. I know it went down because of whatever, but now why isn't it stay down?
I don't know. I don't have an answer. I think there's maybe a little less tolerance for like riding around with strangers and stuff. I think there could still be some residual stuff there. The regional route's the one that had the worst year last year and didn't bounce back. Certainly since about, 8-10 years ago when the UREX started their own service, that ate into our Route 20 ridership a lot. But this last year, I've heard that sometimes they're not even running because they've dealt with some severe, driver shortage issues. So, but you have not seen a corresponding jump in our ridership, so I don't know what's going on with it.
My personal opinion is that I wouldn't want to ride the bus because of all of the transients that are around the bus stop. I wouldn't feel safe as a single woman.
Hear you. I think that's very well put.
I think when we pull riders into the lot.
A lot of college students stopped riding the bus.
Yeah.
And they went web-based. And we will not get those back. Because it's more convenient, and all these colleges are going towards the web-based. When COVID stopped, they still continued web-based, and students, it's easier to do web-based.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of our college students don't ride.
Although now with Polytechnic, we might
Yeah.
see that jump back up.
Yeah, it might jump back up, but I think Fernando's absolutely right. The mixing of probably, what do you think, a third of the classes?
Yeah.
At least a third are hybrid
I
online?
mean, most of the classes after 5 p.m. here don't even operate. There used to be 9 o'clock classes here going until midnight.
Yeah.
We don't have those anymore.
Yeah, so we're obviously shifting gears and trying to attract the middle school and high school market too, which, they're luckily more in person, hopefully that stays that way. But yeah, so we want to continue to expand our market and try to get those younger kids because we can have them for longer and they're not so susceptible to the online classes.
We still have the incentive for the students, right? They ride almost for
Yep,
free.
they're free.
They are.
Students are completely free with their ID, and then we have a grant that's about spent down, but it's not officially down to zero yet. So we have a grant that backfills that, so we don't really lose, but it appears free to the rider. So the families get to put the kids on for free. Same with the college. It's just the college the demands wane because half of them are like doing the classes from home.
So are we reaching out and communicating with the college?
Yeah. Rory's my contact there and he's been great to work with. We communicated. I got a letter of support from him a month or so ago. He's still there. Yeah, we haven't sat down and like broke it down over lunch, like what's wrong or anything, but I think Fernando probably hit the nail on the head. A lot of it's less people come into the physical classroom, so they don't need us. That's where our role was.
What's the plan for the safety of the bus stops?
Well, we've stopped putting out additional shelters because that seems to attract the problem. But at the same time, if you're out there on a rainy day, it's sure nice to have a shelter.
Yeah.
So what's the protocol currently when you have the transients in the shelter? You call the police or the sheriff?
And they say they'll get there as soon as they can,
Yeah.
maybe 10 minutes later, maybe 3 hours later. Most of the time, they tell us there's nothing we can do.
Right.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of problems with getting PD out there to address the issues.
It took the
It's
courthouse,
public property.
to get their attention, get rid of the one that was squatting.
In that one. Yeah, so we used to be gung ho. We actually had a bunch of our bus stop money set aside to put out more shelters, but then when this crisis started to evolve and blow up, we eased up on the shelters because that's a huge magnet for the problem. But even then, like, so we try to go to like benches and provide other amenities that aren't, not so campable. But there's only so much you do. We still have a number of shelters out there. We don't want to pull them all out. But we certainly have not added any new ones for a couple of years.
And the ones that we do have are putting in metal, perforated metal panels so that they're not vandalized. Less likely to be vandalized.
Yeah, the vandalism was definitely a problem because that was coming out of our operating budget. So yeah, it's a two-pronged issue, two-front war, so to speak. There's the vandalism side, and then there's just the anti-marketing that happens when those folks are at the bus stop. People are afraid to use that bus stop to get on the bus. They don't want to wait there. So yeah, it's an ugly situation. I don't have a plan.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Haven't we talked about changing the style of seats to where there was like armrests? Didn't we talk about that so they wouldn't sleep on the benches? I don't
Yeah.
know if that.
I think that's the case. Do we have any sleepable benches out there? They're all
Are still
half hour, okay.
That's why at the point of honor, I put the benches on them.
Yeah.
So that people can sleep on them.
Yeah, the arms are good. So what do you need from me to change out the rest of them, Fernando?
We just need your approval and then the half of them.
So you give me the count and the mix of colors? Okay. Yeah, we can continue that. In the meantime, we have the semi seats that are getting ready to go off as soon as I can get the permits, which requires a map, which requires a lot of my time. Anyway, we're getting there, but we have them in the warehouse and those sit on a post. So, or they mount on a post, so there's no way to lay in those either. So that should help provide some unsheltered, seating, which is
Can't lay under them either.
right. Can't lay under them, can't lay under them.
Either they have a single seat with a post and a sign or a double seat with a post. They have a lot of them.
Yeah, Grants Pass had one or two also. I just saw the one.
Is that something to talk to the PD about? To find out like, why are we not responding, I guess?
I
The
mean,
biggest thing is, but there was no shelter, they said, in our live meeting we had in January. I think.
That was the transit center meeting that topic came up. Yeah.
so what?
We were meeting about the transit center in December or January, but the topic of that, and remember the chief, city PD chief. Yeah, he mentioned some things that we need to consider when we're designing the new facility, and
Oh, sure, yeah.
he was taking some
Yeah,
heat from that.
well, his hands are partially tied, basically, because
He's got himself pretty well versed and knows about every twist and turn we can take to take action, but he's
Yeah, without
pretty
violating.
hamstrung.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But if they are sitting there with all of their goods, like all day long, then they can try to get them to move along.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's an action item.
Yeah, I guess we need an approval.
Yeah.
I move we approve fiscal year 21-22 annual report.
Second.
first and second, pull the vote, Nicole?
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Short,
Yes.
Director Schlong,
Yes.
Chairman Borges.
Yes.
Speaking of the transit club.
Update on memorandum of understanding with the Front Street Transit Hub project.
Yes, this will be quick, because there was no written staff report on this one, because there's not that much to update you guys on. We received a first draft from the city, that was drafted up by Martha and Eric and the team over there. So I received it, I looked through it, it's like, well, I'm not qualified to actually review this, but anyway, I looked through it, it looked pretty good. Then I saw that we're gonna be bringing the attorney on board at this meeting, so I just asked Eric if we could slow down the process and give Hanson Bridget a time to look at it. Now that we have them, so that's what I'll do. So I'll provide that to Michael and his team that you met earlier, and they'll take a look and we'll provide our comments back to the city on that. Yeah, there was some language in there that just seemed tricky to me that I wanted to have our folks take a look at. people that are qualified for reviewing documents like this. But it's exciting. It looks like the plan is to move it to city and RCT board approval later this spring. So we're on track for that. We submitted a couple of big grant requests. One, the TURSIP grant was submitted. That's the one where we're partnering with Humboldt Transit. And it's a big ask. So that one has like $2.5 million to design and build the transit center in it. If we get it, that'd be great. Plus it has money for our first wave of electric buses, which we really don't have the money for ourselves, so this will be great to get us a jump start on our compliance with the EVs. So anyway, so fingers crossed on that. I think we're going to find out something this summer. We'll probably get contacted if we're recommended for award, then the CTC has to approve it. So it's a bureaucratic process, but it's not too long from what I'm told. So we should know this year whether we were funded or not under that or partially funded. We've been meeting with, on that subject, we had a meeting this afternoon with the city. We met day before or a couple days ago with city folks, Caltrans and Senator McGuire about the Clean California grant. So the city is putting together one or two, sounds like it might end up being one application for some stuff down around Front Street. But this particular Clean California grant has kind of certain things it'll fund and certain things that won't score well, of course. So today's meeting was kind of to debrief on what we heard from the senator and his team the other day, and Caltrans, because it was the folks that actually administer that grant program. So I think they're going to make some modifications, and I think there's still going to be something in there for the transit center. The input we got was just asking for the transit center is probably not a good fit for this particular grant source, because it's a lot more about cleaning and greening and decorative stuff. So, but we might ask, it looks like we might ask for part of it, some of the landscaping and maybe that front, that piece of like berm and parking near the Front Street itself. So anything would help. So that's due in about a month. So there's going to be weekly meetings continuing until we can firm up the scope of what we're going to ask for on that. But it's great that the city's including us as partners on that project. So it's really cool. I think that's it for the transit center update. We've paused. We have those that were on the board into 2022. No, we have an engineering firm that we brought on board, and they almost got started at the other site, which was over on H&I. So we paused them on that, and we're just kind of waiting. One thing we realized is the grant expenses that we asked for from TURSIP, we may get it, we may not. But if we got it, and if we have went ahead and spended money on the design, it wouldn't be eligible for reimbursement. So it's like we're sort of pausing a little bit to see if we get that grant, because then we could pay for our design funds as well. Otherwise, we'll be fronting it and we won't get that money back. So anyway, we're kind of slowing that down a little, get the MOU in place, and then we can reassess if we want to go ahead and pay for the preliminary design ourselves, just to keep things moving while we wait on the grants. So that'll be a strategic decision for the board to consider at that point. Any other questions on the transit center? Transit home.
Does that grant require any matching funds or?
No, I don't think it does. I don't think it does.
What's the kind of grants we're on?
Yeah, that is the kind of grants we're on. Good question.
Number 8, update on the RCTA, CTSA projects and programs.
Yes, this one I did want to update you guys on. I'll try to be brief. Oops, that's not it. So our CTSA programs are about 3 years old now. We started with perfect timing right at the end of the pandemic. I mean, at the start of the pandemic. So we had a couple of months in the winter when things are kind of slow around here anyway. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit. So the two initial projects that the board prioritized and decided to start with was our ADA eligibility determination and transit travel training. Both of which were really crushed by the pandemic. So, that's just the way it went. So anyway, our staff report shows that things have been very slow. Here it is. for both programs for the first nearly 3 years. So we had initially our CTSA, I wanted to kind of stop. So the CTSA money is really a silo within our regular TDA, LTF, which is local transportation funds. So by us taking the designation of CTSA, it really didn't bring any more money to our CTA. What it did is protected that 5% because any entity could have been the CTSA. In the past, it had been Coastline, and for a year it was Sutter Hospital. So the CTSA baton had been passed around a little bit, and nobody had. Ultimately, Tamara called, and we were picked to give it a try next. So we took the mantle. We took the designation in 2019 and started our programs in 2020 with the initial 2. So the eligibility was projected to be 50 or 60 a year. It's come in about 1/5 of that. So we have had some activity on the ADA eligibility side, but it's been much slower than than projected originally, mostly due to the pandemic. The travel training's been hurt even more because that's sort of our marketing for that program. And we got our brochures and stuff. We were all ready to go, but the main way to get people into that was doing group presentations, like at the senior center at lunch, for example, or maybe at DHHS if they had some sort of orientation for their clients or whatever. So that kind of thing, and that was going to be Fernando's gig. But when the pandemic shut everything down, there was nowhere to go to do those group trainings and do presentation. So since then, we've just had referrals from the ADA eligibility program. There's been like 1 or 2 of those, but that's been about it. So the travel training's really been quieted by the COVID. He stepped out. We can ask him when he gets back if he's about ready to go out, and if any new events are starting to pop where he could be out at and advertising the program. The travel training can be like 1-on-10. It can be like a presentation in front of a group, or it can, and that oftentimes it starts with that. And then people that are really interested in learning do follow up 1-on-1. So that was the vision, and we hope that still can be useful. It just, with the senior center lunch program not going right now, or I guess it's not going, it hasn't been going for a long time. We haven't had that venue to kind of get the travel training going. We still offer it.
Yeah.
We'll check back, but that's what I'm told. But that would be a place where he could go over like every Friday and do a presentation until they're tired of listening to him. And then he can do 1-on-1s with the folks that are really interested.
Mind explain to me a bit more about what the presentation?
Teaching them what are, there's you can't assume that people know what we do. So when Fernando would go out to a group, first he would show them what our route network looks like, where the buses go, talk about how much they cost, how cheap the passes are, and then show them how to like ride the bus. And then those that are interested could request a follow-up, and we can go out and train them 1-on-1 or in small groups, like how to pay a fare, how to pull the cords, all the things that really are comprise riding the bus. And for a lot of folks in this country nowadays, they never really rode the bus much, unless they happen to grow up in a certain area or something. So it's a skill that a lot of folks don't have. So the travel training helps them be confident, so when they go out there, they don't get made fools of, which is everyone's fear, trying something new, is looking stupid or doing something wrong. So that's what the travel training is all about. It's like how to ride the bus and how to read the schedule, know where we go and where we don't go, and all those things.
So what about groups like, when the city has, like every 3 months we have an employee meeting?
Mhm.
Maybe that would be.
That'd be great,
I
yeah,
don't know what the county does, but,
that would be
and then,
good.
like the Redwood Coast Regional Center for their,
Most of the
disabled-
Rebel Coast regional plans, they have their aides that help them ride the bus. That's why we don't have any of them. And when Coastline went out, they all went over to regional center, and they pretty much have a client that rides the bus with them and takes them everywhere. So they're all pretty familiar with the whole system.
Well, as, that's awesome, but as employees come and go, maybe the new aides may not know how to ride the bus themselves.
Yeah.
Thinking out loud, but I don't know how to ride the bus. I've never ride it.
I've never.
Maybe we should go ride it and
Yeah.
see what it's like.
We could definitely have Fernando practice with you guys and we could do a session and then take you guys out for a ride.
To do that a couple of years ago, go steal a bottle of wine, go buy a ticket.
Can you drink on the bus?
Well, not officially. No. Do people do it sometimes? Yeah, right.
Party bus would make a lot of money.
That's right.
Yeah, that would be-
Dropping off with the crystal ball.
That would have been a big money. Things like that. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, and it segues perfectly into the next bullet I wanted to talk about on this. So one thing that has been growing has been the request for event transportation services where people need a bus or an agency of maybe a funding partner agency as a group they want to take out and do stuff. So we started doing some of these. We took it to the board once, like way back in this formulation of the CTSA, and we would come up with like an initial rate. And then inflation and the whole world went wacky, so we bumped it up a little after that. So we're offering this at a thin margin, a modest little margin profit for us, enough to cover our costs. And we've probably done maybe 10 or so, maybe one a month. In the busier months, it's like once a month at least. But it continues to grow. We have like a couple more scheduled coming up, and then we're supporting the big bike tour in July. So it's become more of an issue. So I wanted to bring it back to you guys. So one, you're aware that we're doing this. And then two, you're comfortable with it and kind of what the approximate pricing that we're charging. And because there are ramifications, federally funded transit agencies are not supposed to do these. And if you do want to do them, there's a pretty rigid set of rules you have to follow. But mostly it boils down to they don't want federally funded transit agencies competing with non-federally funded private sector charter operators. So if you're in an area with a chartering company, you got to really be careful because, you know, if they want the business, it's supposed to be theirs, not ours. Here I get a feeling there's not a lot of charter operations out there. That's why we're getting all these calls.
Would that just be like the cab service?
Could be.
Or-
But their vehicles aren't real big. So yeah, maybe it could be a cab service, but if there's a large group, they wouldn't be able to handle it anyway with one
Well,
cab.
like he just mentioned, like the crystal ball, you know, that would have been a great service to people after they've been drinking throughout the evening to get a ride to and from. So they didn't have to go out to pay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they're
do that
talking
kind of
300
event.
People that went, so
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a big
I'm
one.
guessing it was 300
Well, that's a lot.
at
Yeah.
least.
Did they charter any vans or any vehicles?
No.
But yeah, that would be the kind of event, and it is something we have a little more freedom to do it under the CTSA moniker. So right now, out of our fleet of, I think it's 14, it changes a lot. These old vehicles we're trying to keep alive.
Yes, we're at 14.
We're at 14 right now, and out of those, 4 of them were funded with non-federal dollars. So we try to do whatever, any of these events that we're gonna do, we do with those 4. If we would require 1 or 2 more with cleaner local money, you know, that would be a chance to do that. But it's still something that, you know, we have to be cognizant of, that the FTA doesn't like. But anyway, so I wanted to see what you guys thought. Should we continue to do it? It seems like there's a need in the community. Is what we're charging reasonable? One of the things that's popped and never came up the first couple of years, but recently we've got a couple events that need something on Sundays, and that challenges us because we're closed on Sunday. So I think that's one thing that I wanted to bounce by you guys. We need a higher rate because we have to bring someone in that would normally be off. It could be overtime or it could be not, but we need to bring someone in to be the dispatcher and to support if we're gonna have drivers out there, you know, operating transportation.
Might be perfectly reasonable, and we just tell folks that, you know, usually it's this, but Sunday.
Here's a $250 fee for Sunday operation.
Yeah, something like that. So what I'd propose, we're $70 an hour for normally, so Monday through Saturday, which is about, what's that, what does that break down to, Fernando? It's the labor's about 40 or 50?
Labor's 39, fuel is another 35.
Yeah, fuels become such a big deal, so that's like the other $30. And there's, I think it was like 60, so we have like a margin of about 10%. So Sunday, I was thinking 120 an hour. We could do it as a single lump fee. Yeah, I never thought of that. That could be-
What makes it work?
That allows us to pay someone to come in here and so basically they're paying for two people all day or however many hours, not just the one who's driving the bus, but the person who's here supporting.
So are you saying that it can only be hired like by an actual agency or organization? It can't be privately hired?
No, it can be privately.
Oh,
And we have one set for next week.
Yeah, there's one next week and
What would that be
Party
for?
soon?
What would that be?
You're
for
gonna be
one
throwing a
next
big party soon?
it's like the next one next weekend, is that the wedding
One
event?
this weekend, one next weekend, yeah.
Good deal for a wedding. I know we've used
So
it
how's
for the
that work?
Japanese delegation that came to town.
Yeah, we did
So-
that. That was one of the
Yeah,
first
and
ones. we
We
did.
also did a couple of Caltrain.
Yep.
things For Life Change Group.
Yeah.
The biggest one that started was the Japanese delegate.
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, that was fun. That was our first
how do
one.
you handle a wedding?
So basically, we get with whoever's the one putting the event together, and they give us a request, and we look at what we have, and then we go for that. So what we're doing for this wedding is we're just picking up the people at the airport as they fly in and bring them to their motel or Airbnb in this case. So we're not actually delivering folks to the wedding, we're just bringing them into town so that they can go and do their thing.
This is Dan Heron talking.
Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to be the conscience here in that the funds for transit are not really intended to do a whole lot of private kinds of things, and for very good reason. Somebody always will show up at a public hearing and say, you're taking the bread out of the mouth of my family. And we don't want to be in those situations. However, there are plenty of ways to meet a community need, and that Japanese tour was exactly that. It was really, really important to do. It affected a lot of people in town and so on. There are ways to craft it as a change of your regular route for that particular day and time. There are ways around it, but I caution you, we don't want to get into a bind with someone who does this for a living.
Agreed. I think going to the airport on a regular basis would be smart though.
We already go to the airport, so I don't know why they don't want to use our regular service. I'm guessing the flight arrival time doesn't mesh.
Oh, they're private charter. They're a private charter into the airport, so they don't meet up with their bus schedule.
So the flight, typically we use our small 210 for anything that is for smaller groups, like one or two. But they have a total of 26 coming into the flight that one day. The only vehicle that'll handle that is our big bus. And you get them at one location, this way we don't have to keep going back and forth. They're all going to the same location, from the same location, so it's easier just to take one bus.
Is that from the CEC?
On Pebble Beach.
And they're flying into
They're
Crescent
flying-
City?
Yeah, the 26 are flying here, in Crescent City, and then they have another 26 flying into Arcata. Oh, cool.
And they weren't able to use the regular Route 20 on that one either?
There's the one
The
that
timing?
flies in over there, arrives at 1, which is after we already leave, and then the other one at 10.
So do we have a regular stop when Contour flies in every day?
Yeah, sort of. So, right, we have we do it as an on-demand thing, so you have to call. And we need to get our sign up and the instructions posted clearly. but we worked out with Ryan at the airport, a good spot for us to pick up. So it's just a matter of jiving with, so the two, I think they're still doing 2 arrivals a day, the one at real early in the morning,
No, it's just a one and one.
One and one?
departure.
one departure, well,
Maybe
okay,
it changes in the summertime.
Yeah,
yeah.
they'll have a third flight at 11 o'clock.
Right, so we're just doing that as a demand response trip, so,
Is there
because
anything-
it's
any
far
wires
away.
or anything on the plane itself?
No, not yet.
Like in the little readout, when people are bored doing nothing?
No, that would be good. It's a good idea. No, there's not there anything there right now. We don't even have anything in the airport, so we need to follow up on that. We never had any service there for a long time, then we come up with this way of doing it last year when they had the change at the airport, and we just gotta implement it.
I think that's a great option. I mean.
Mm.
Some people just don't have, to call a cab or whatever, I guess, but.
Mhm. Yeah, so we just need to get our flyer done and advertise it more, get it on the website, so people know that, hey, we can take our CTA for $5 to the airport. Yeah.
It's really hard.
Well, it's like the gentleman that called us last week for a ride. The cab companies don't start until 10 a.m. Oh.
Yeah, and I'll call them from the VFW hall for a veteran once in a while, and they'll say, oh, we're gonna be an hour.
Oh, geez.
Mhm.
They're busy.
I'm not sure if they're busy or if they just. don't,
Can't be that big.
yeah,
Anyhow, so that's what I wanted to bring up about these events. We got more and more attention and a request to do them. Then the last thing I wanted to touch on the CTSA update is, and you heard about it last month at our workshop, the medical shuttle project's calling for us to develop a one-stop call center, which is, it's the same dispatch office you're gonna go by on your way out, but it'll be hopefully a new number and a new phone system that makes it easier to transfer calls. Our current system's ancient and doesn't work very well. So this is, that's one of the recommendations. And we certainly, I think in summary, we have extra CTSA money we could use on something like this. The call center shouldn't cost too much once we buy there might be some phone system equipment. We got to get one-time equipment. But other than that, it'll just be a matter of educating our dispatchers on what some of these other transportation options that maybe they're currently not under much pressure to know about. But this way it'll be like the experts for the county for like all sorts of transport questions. I think that'll be a really cool project that seems to be coming out of the South Oregon shuttle deal. Yeah, so any other questions about the CTSA? This year, we're paying for half of that study with the CTSA money. And if we launch into some sort of program, we'll pay for that probably out of the CTSA too. So that'll help us spend the budget down. We've, the first couple of years, we haven't spent it fast enough because our programs have been really slow.
Is there any kind of medical foundation in Medford, Grand Paso, Eureka that would help pay for
Good question.
bringing patients to their facility?
That'd be good. Yeah, let me look into that. I don't know. That would be great. I can ask our medicals, the healthcare district is chipping in half, so they may know, they may have like partners in crime over
Yes.
there in Medford.
They're the ones benefiting.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's all I've got for that item.
Okay. Number 9, management report, first transit project manager.
Fernando, that's you.
As many know, First Transit is now Transdev as of the 6th of this month. So we're slowly bringing all of the new naming over. As you can see, most of the posters are, we're still waiting on uniforms and decals for the buses. But everything is gonna be switched over to Transdev. The cell has been fixed 11.
Correct.
Not.
Other than that, we have 8 drivers still. We have 2 in training, which will bring our total to 10. Today will be out next week. We wish it was sooner, but California DMV puts a hold for 14 days on everybody's permits. You must maintain the permit 14 days, otherwise it'd be sooner. They have passed, requested to find colors already. We hope to have them on.
And 10 is fully staffed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks, Fernando.
Okay. RCTA General Manager's Report.
I don't think I have a whole lot of other things to add. We touched, we will probably meet. I'd hope to give us April off, but I'll probably join via Zoom. I don't think I can be here in person, but we probably have a couple, three. It'll be a short meeting, but we probably have a few items we could take to you guys in
I
April.
might miss April.
Okay.
I'll be coming back from out of town, so I'm gonna try to get here in time.
And if we're gonna do Zoom, we'd probably even have some more flexibility on a date, because we really don't, I don't know. I would assume we were gonna return to Flynn, because that's got all the technical equipment that we need, which we don't have here, but. Yeah, let me see if there's any flexibility to move that date around. So would it be better later in that week, Kelly, or the week before, or which is like which
I'm gonna be
direction's
on
better?
vacation from the 17th to the 24th, but I'm coming home on the 24th, so. If you're gonna do it on Zoom, I could probably stop maybe like in Medford and do the Zoom and then continue home. It's not like you're driving the dark.
Understandable. Yep.
199.
Nope, there's animals and stuff out there, rocks. Okay, so I think that's all, yeah, I think that's all I got. Any announcements?
None from me.
That was throwing me off as this says 27th. Instead
Yeah.
of 24th.
Yep,
Is that why I'm
that might be,
tripping out?
no, I probably made a mistake. First, I got the month wrong on the top. And then I probably got
Oh,
the
I
date.
just switched them. Today's the 27th.
Yep, 24th.
That's what down here.
Edwin.
Coming back from you 3 days to travel.
Yeah, yeah, it just sounds like, wow, all weekend.
It's
gonna-
cool down time.
Right. Yikes.
Going to a journey concert or road.
Just weekend and my arms are tired.
Need some cool up time after that.
See, little attention to detail, how effing up the dates on this agenda. It's caused a lot of. It's caused us a lot of strife today. I apologize for that. Yes, the 24th is the date.
I knew what.
Working,
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
That was good.
It's the month after that we gotta watch, because I think it falls like right in we have the Memorial Day weekend in late May, so we may have to move our date around a little bit that week.
Kelly was the only
Yeah,
one
the
that did it.
second is the meeting for May, the fourth Monday. Or do you do? it
Yeah,
last
yeah,
Monday?
22nd, so yeah, maybe we can stay on there. That's right, so we're a week ahead of it. Okay, that might be okay then, if I can make it back, otherwise I'll zoom in. I'm doing some baseball watching in there. Okay, that's good. Yeah, we're probably okay. We're probably okay, May 22nd then. I saw them last year. You're gonna enjoy it. They're great. Okay, anybody else for announcement?
We will adjourn to our next meeting on Monday, April 24th.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.